LCX.com, the Liechtenstein Crypto Assets Exchange, is a regulated fintech company that focuses on digital asset trading, compliant token offerings, and tokenization. LCX is headquartered in Liechtenstein with offices in Switzerland, India, and USA. In 2020, LCX received 8 crypto-related approvals by the Financial Market Authority. LCX Exchange is a secure and regulated trading platform for cryptocurrencies. LCX Exchange makes it easy to buy, sell, and store cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, Ethereum, LCX Token, and more. LCX DeFi protocol is a second-layer blockchain protocol enabling limit orders on Uniswap. LCX DeFi Terminal is a decentralized trading platform for Uniswap with super-fast markets data, beautiful charting, trading view integration, and DeFi indicators such as liquidity and volume. LCX Token Sale Manager is the most advanced and fully compliant platform for any token sale, regardless of whether it is a utility or security token. LCX STO Launchpad provides a compliant one-stop tokenization platform for security tokens to automate the fundraising and investor management on the blockchain. LCX Price Oracles are credible and decentralized cryptocurrency reference prices. LCX Terminal is a portfolio management platform across all major cryptocurrency exchanges. LCX Token is the fuel of our purpose-built platform. LCX Token works as a long-term sustainable incentive mechanism to motivate various stakeholders to participate in the ecosystem. This is LCX, LCX.com. It's all about having the key insights, following the leaders of the crypto industry and background stories on blockchain technology trends to keep you one step ahead. Monty Metzger, CEO of LCX.com, keeps you up to speed with what's moving global crypto markets and gives you the latest insights about LCX's platform and ecosystem. This is LCX Insights Live.
Welcome to LCX Insights Live. I'm happy to welcome you here at this special session on this Sunday evening in Europe. In this special live video show, I'm engaging with the world's top blockchain projects, entrepreneurs and investors, and pioneers in crypto and blockchain in honest conversations meant to challenge the traditional way of thinking. But first, I want to give you a short update about what's going on at LCX. LCX.com stands for the Liechtenstein Crypto Assets Exchange, and we are a regulated fintech company that focuses on digital asset trading, compliant token offerings, and tokenization. LCX received 8 blockchain-related approvals by the Liechtenstein regulator, more than Bittrex Global, Bank Frick, or any other company in the country. Our due diligence compliance requirements are the same standards as any other bank or financial institution. And Liechtenstein, as you probably don't know yet, is a country next to Switzerland and Austria. So it's landlocked between these two countries in the middle of Europe. And LCX has received a AAA country rating from Standard & Poor's. That's the highest rating possible. So Liechtenstein is a very high reputable country, and we're proud to be there. Being headquartered in Liechtenstein for LCX is also means that we have direct market access to 2 markets, full European countries, European Union, European Economic Area, and Switzerland. So with that hybrid model, Liechtenstein has introduced probably the most forward-thinking legal framework for cryptocurrencies and blockchain companies, providing legal clarity and security for our users. So what's the latest news about LCX in the last few days? First of all, we announced the listing for the fast-growing decentralized marketplace Origin Protocol and its cryptocurrency OGN. Then we announced the listing of Constellation Network, the full support of Constellation blockchain, and its cryptocurrency DAG. So with Constellation, we also announced a larger partnership lately, and we'll speak about that here at LCX Insights Live soon. Furthermore, we announced a strategic partnership with Quant to pioneer central bank digital currencies. And recently, LCX Exchange started a crypto trading competition with a chance to win a Rolex Milgo watch. We launched a special dashboard, and I wanted to show this to you how this looks. So here's this special dashboard where you can click. If you go to exchange.lcx.com, you will find this trading competition dashboard, and you can immediately see if you're part of the winning pool. We made it very simple to participate. So basically, if you have $1,000 or more in trading volume, you are and you have to achieve that for 20 days, then you're part of the winning pool. But there's no ranking of any sort. So everybody who's in the winning pool has the same chance to win. So sign up now and get started. There's still plenty of days to join that trading competition. And then, but now this brings me to the probably the most important part of the session today. We have announced a strategic partnership with DigiByte Foundation. And with that said, we invited a very special guest. And at LCX Insights Live, we are inviting leading personalities, key partners of LCX, and founders or senior management of blockchain projects listed at LCX Exchange. So today's guest has been in the forefront of emerging technologies for more than 20 years. He is PhD candidate at University Amsterdam. He had been doing a lot of governance in public blockchains. He had been a guest lecturer at universities, a speaker, thought leader, advisor to anything crypto and blockchain related, really a pioneer since the early days. And he is mostly known to be the chair and co-founder of the DigiByte Foundation. So please welcome Mr. Hans Koning. Let's get him into the screen. Hello, Hans.
Hello, Monty. Hi, lovely to see you. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Yeah, we are super excited to have you here at this LCX Insights live session. And first, I would like to dive right into the topic. Can you explain what is DigiByte Foundation? What is DGB Token? And how big is it already?
Wow, that's jumping straight in, and excellent questions, if I may say, and questions I'm more than happy to answer, Monty. First of all, again, thank you for having us, and I always say thank you for having us because I find it important that we, as a decentralized project, there's no single entity important within DigiByte nor in the DigiByte Foundation. So we always talk in the plural, we as the DigiByte community. That said, the DigiByte Foundation aims to represent that very community of DigiByte. And as we are still a young, growing, establishing and developing blockchain project, we feel it is necessary and important to build a bridge towards the more professionalized and the more business world within blockchain. As a fully decentralized project, you simply cannot rely on volunteers exclusively, and you do need to have sort of a representation if you want to get listed on exchanges or you want to reach out to companies, or companies actually want to reach out to us. Additionally, we also find it important that we still need to advocate who we are and what we do. So instructing and learning people about empowerment, learning people about decentralization, but also make sure that people are educated about what blockchain and what cryptocurrencies are. We find important to do so and provide tools to do just that as the DigiByte Foundation. But the DigiByte itself is a project that was developed by Jared Tate, our founder, in 2013, and was launched in January of 2014. That makes DigiByte almost a bit of a dinosaur in the blockchain space, if you like, because
Yes.
we just had our 7th birthday a few months ago. So that makes us relatively an older project. One of the things that actually describes blockchain or the DigiByte blockchain is it's fast, it's secure, and it's forward thinking. So I was actually had a big smile on my face when you made an introduction of LCX, listing the specific words of forward thinking, and that is precisely the good match we also feel with LCX, Monty, because we also are a forward-thinking project in the blockchain space.
Yeah, thank you so much. And now, like, if you look at, let's have a look at the DigiByte token, DGB. So it's with 1.6 billion market cap on ranking here, 71 at the moment.
Yeah.
Can you tell us the history? When was this launched?
Yeah.
How did you get there? And how big is I would say, what part does the community play in that?
Yeah, well, that was a journey of a bit of an uphill battle at times. And the main reason for that is that DigiByte is a non-funded, fully decentralized, non-ICO blockchain. And that sets us apart to a lot of other projects. Bitcoin, for instance, was also a non-funded, non-ICO project. So if you look at other projects like the Tezos, for instance, the Tezos blockchain, who had an ICO and raised almost $240 million, they could obviously get marketing and get listings and get lots of developers in. We only rely on volunteers who help promote the blockchain and our unwavering support of our community. So yeah, the past 7 years hasn't always been easy, but if you see what we as a blockchain and as a community has achieved, it is something to be really, really proud of. And I can only say thank you for that big and enormous community who have always given us the support and have always advocated for the DigiByte blockchain. As said earlier, we started in 2014, and then the market was very, very thin, very unstable, and there were also a lot of new players trying to get into the market. And the DigiByte blockchain has always, from day one, distinguished itself as fast, secure, and forward-thinking, and introduced a couple of blockchain firsts. And the origin, actually, of the DigiByte lies predominantly in certain flaws of certain shortcomings in Bitcoin, and we try to mitigate that and try to improve the blockchain and become a faster and more secure and a more reliable blockchain. So the past few years we've been working hard on liquidity, because at the end of the day, the success of a coin is more or less also related to liquidity. So now we've been listed over 100 exchanges, and we're also very excited now to get listed on LCX, for instance. So it hasn't always been an easy battle, but it has been a successful battle, and it has been a sustainable battle.
Excellent. But like, looking at the launch, you said there was no ICO. So
Correct.
How are the DGB tokens being distributed? How did you enter them into the market?
Yeah, well, the only way actually you can get DigiBytes is to mine them, or you buy them at an exchange. So since there wasn't an ICO, well, there's a small fraction of the coins has been sold to offset some initial running costs. But from there on out, all new coins had to be mined by the community and then sold on exchanges. So the only way you can actually get DigiByte coins is by mining them or buying them at an exchange.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then now there are first questions coming in. So there's a question here from Nikki saying, what is the difference with DigiByte and the DigiByte Foundation? And furthermore, what is the relationship to the founder of DigiByte?
Okay, the founder of DigiByte is Jared Tate. He developed the DigiByte blockchain in 2013 and launched it in 2014. The DigiByte Foundation was set up in 2019, and we were officially incorporated in 2020, in March of last year. One of the key aspects of DigiByte is that it's a permissionless blockchain. So anyone can actually set up and use the DigiByte blockchain. But within the community, we felt it very important that we had an entity that could reach out to companies, an entity that could represent part of our community, but also an entity that could make sure that we protect our core values within the community, which we hold so dearly, like decentralization, openness, transparency, equal access, and being permissionless. So the goal of the DigiByte Foundation is protect our core principles, be an advocate for blockchain and for the blockchain community and for the DigiByte community, but also try to improve liquidity and work on rolling out use cases for the DigiByte blockchain.
Okay, and then like in a previous discussion we had, you mentioned the DigiByte pillars. Can you explain what are the key pillars of DigiByte?
Absolutely. I think the first pillar would have to be the DigiByte coin. And the DigiByte coin is, in a way, the ultimate merchant coin. It's very fast. It has a high speed in transactions. If you make a transfer, it is visible within your wallet within a second, and it is actually fully confirmed the transaction in 15 seconds. So it's a very fast blockchain, which makes it an ultimate merchant coin. It is also listed at, I think, 120, 130 crypto exchanges at the moment. So the point of sale representation of DigiByte is very good. So that is our first pillar. The second pillar would be authentication. So proof of authentication. So if you want to authenticate a document or an identity, you can actually use authentication of proof of authentication on the DigiByte blockchain. The third pillar would be authentication, and we have DigiID as a workable tool for that. So rather than having to rely on all passwords and different logins, you can use DigiID to get access to your emails or to your crypto accounts. So that also means that your passwords are not stored on a centralized server of the original host, but you are in control of your own passwords and you are in control of your own logins and access. And that more or less is in line with the mantra of not your keys, not your coins. The fourth pillar, I would say, has to be DigiAssets, and DigiAssets are the smart contracts and the tokenization. So it is our tool in which we can tokenize assets. And tokenization is definitely one of the things that will take a big leap forward this year. So DigiAsset is, and DigiByte is happy to have DigiAssets. The fourth, or the fifth, I should say, pillar would have to be DeFi. Last year, DeFi was the buzzword. Everything was about DeFi. So recently we joined with the REN protocol, and DigiByte has been added to the REN protocol. And for those who are not too familiar with it, the REN protocol is more or less providing liquidity inter-blockchain project related. So that's for us also a great way to provide liquidity and be available and be present in the DeFi space. But the sixth pillar, and perhaps I should call it the zeros, the first and foremost important pillar, that has to be our community. And our community has been supporting the blockchain from day one. And at the moment, I think we have a community of almost 1 million people all around the world from all walks of life, be it a developer, be it a trader, be it an advocate of the blockchain. And that is definitely our core asset. And I would, in that sense, call it one of the pillars of DigiByte.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. So I think I'm looking at the questions coming in, and it's great that we have such an active community. We already feel that with everything we do around with DigiByte, and that's great to see. There's one question in regards to the partnership where Guy asked, like, what will LCX do to help DigiByte mass adoption? And the first things which we did announce is the integration of DGB at LCX Exchange. So
Correct.
LCX Exchange is a new next generation exchange, freshly launched, growing rapidly at the moment. And we're starting out with a fresh new basis, basically. So we had been developing that technology for the exchange for over 1.5, almost 2 years. Now we gained the regulatory approvals and registrations there out of Liechtenstein, and we are strengthening the DigiByte Foundation, or like the whole community in Europe especially. So for everybody who's looking for a safe, secure, and reliable platform where you can trust it, we won't go hiding. We do everything we can in terms of security, and so that's I think that the first step. And then, of course, part of this partnership, we will be doing additional things. So there's another question coming in, which is actually touching that a little bit. So from Simeth here, Simon, who says, what is the importance of the partnership between you two in terms of tokenization? Hans, what can we say something already?
What can I don't know. Well, first of all, let me quickly touch on the word partnership, because
yes,
in a way, it's actually quite interesting that as a fully decentralized, permissionless, and open blockchain project, how can you and why should you engage in a partnership? Partnerships are more or less in the traditional form of the world. Two business entities go into a partnership and say, I'm going to do this, and that party is going to do that. We share the proceeds, we share the liability, and we share the profits, and we both have benefits from working together. In that sense, in blockchain, well, the key of blockchain is that we're actually engaging into a new world of interactions with people, interactions with entities, and also interactions in partnerships. And in that sense, also the DigiByte blockchain is entering into a partnership with LCX. And I can say on behalf of the DigiByte Foundation that we're very excited, very happy, proud, and privileged that we're part of that community of LCX. So what can we expect? I'm not sure yet what we can expect. One of the first things, of course, is what you already mentioned, Monty, and that has to be the listing of DigiByte on the LCX exchange. And that's, again, is something we feel very happy and very proud of. As you said earlier, Liechtenstein has a very strong and good reputation. So being part of that ecosystem is also something we as DigiByte feel very comfortable with and actually applaud and support. So a quick sidestep, if I may. If you look at the regulatory framework worldwide, now you got at the end of the spectrum, you got countries who are hostile towards crypto, you got countries who are sort of neutral towards blockchain and crypto, and you got countries who more or less embrace and are open towards blockchain. And Liechtenstein is definitely one of the countries that doesn't only embrace blockchain and crypto, but also does it in a way that guarantees and protects not only us as a blockchain project, but also you on the other side of the screen as a consumer and a user of the DigiByte blockchain or of other cryptocurrencies. Right. So that's extremely important that Liechtenstein has embraced that, and LCX is an example of that. But what I said earlier in the pillars of what is DigiByte, tokenization will be important, and tokenization of assets will be one of the things that will fly in this year. I think we're already starting to scratch the surface a little with NFTs being sold for millions of dollars. Last year it was DeFi. This year we see tokenization, and DigiByte will be part of that step, will be part of that evolution, and will be part of that development. And we also feel confident and comfortable with being part of LCX in rolling it out.
That's right, yeah. And there are like more questions in that regard coming in. So what will be the real benefits of the cooperation between DigiByte and LCX? What concrete actions will be taken between the two entities? So this question is coming in from Chris, and I can quickly share the announcement which we have published there, yes. Which is where we say With this strategic alliance, we aim to, first of all, well, let's start from back. So we will be listing DigiByte, DGB Token at LCX Exchange. We will be implementing DigiByte blockchain at LCX ecosystem, including the whole block, like running a blockchain node and integrating volume support. And then the last piece is basically that the DigiByte Foundation team members, together with some other individuals from the corporate enterprise world, have chosen LCX to be working on a confidential ecosystem project with a focus on enterprise consumer applications. So what you once said is a brace for impact.
Yeah, I guess, and I understand that people are now listening. Oh yeah, what is it? Well, as you unfortunately said, Monty, that is confidential at the moment, and that is work in progress. But let me share this. Let me share two things. I think it's important to understand and to realize that if you make an entry within blockchain or in blockchain development, you have to make sure that it complies with regulation, that you do things with the I's dotted and the T's crossed. That takes time in preparation, and in that meantime, you're more or less working cloaked and under the hood. Secondly, it is also important to understand that things are going really fast at the moment within the ecosystem, but we also want to make sure that we do things right and do things correctly, because we can only make an impact once. And unfortunately, it is that we're in a phase of working on ideas, but not necessarily being able to share that. And I know that's a bit disappointing, and I'm sure some people would have expected and were hoping for, revealing a little, opening the curtains a little to see what's going on. But unfortunately, we still need to be in a cloaked mode at the moment. But we can, I can honestly say and honestly promise that as soon as we can, I'm sure we will be back. I'll be back. And I'll give you an update, and Monty and I can definitely share that. And I'm more than happy to give that promise that that we will do that, perhaps as a scoop via LCX.
Yeah, I mean, given your background and the industry since such a long time, since kind of the early start, and not only as an observer, but really being part of that. And like my impression is, with every discussion we had here, is that you're thinking long term. You want to build something sustainable,
correct,
which is here to last. And I mean, with DigiByte, it already is a top 100 project, like
correct,
$1 billion plus unicorn project. But it's not stopping there. Like there's a much broader vision.
Correct.
Like, can you give us insights on this vision?
Correct, and that's definitely something I can thank you for reminding me of that fact, Monty, and that's absolutely right. There is definitely going to be a long-term focus, and if you look at what happened in 2017, for instance, what we saw is that a lot of people entered the blockchain market and the ecosystem, which was great, but honestly, that people could actually rake in millions of dollars simply on a flimsy white paper was quite bizarre, and that is not something we all felt was good or was sustainable for the blockchain, or was doing us as the ecosystem any favors in the longer term. And actually, a lot of people got burned financially, emotionally, business-wise, in that 2017 and aftermath. And I think it's important that we also learn now that blockchain is such a unique and special opportunity that is literally a once in a lifetime, a once in a generation opportunity. So we should be careful to develop the right prospects before we go forward. So yes, to have a long-term focus is extremely important. And another thing I would quickly like to add is that DigiByte is a decentralized, open, permissionless, free-to-use blockchain. That also means that everyone and anyone can come up with an idea, use the DigiByte blockchain, and turn that into a business product. And that business product would not be owned by the DigiByte. It is only using the DigiByte ecosystem and the DigiByte blockchain. If there are people within the community with a smart idea and want to use the DigiByte blockchain in a commercial way, then that is something that helps not only the blockchain system, but also the DigiByte ecosystem, and is an value added for the business world. And I think that is more or less the clue I could give.
Okay, so it's all about the community, and it's all about like building a governance, blockchain's governance structure, which is enabling everybody to participate and everybody to profit from it.
Correct.
What are your points and your like thoughts about blockchain governance, and how is that done at the DigiByte Foundation?
Well, governance is to me a very important issue, and I'm really glad that you single that issue out as a question, Monty. And at the moment, I'm doing a PhD or a research PhD at Free University in Amsterdam regarding blockchain governance in the public blockchain. And I have a background in corporate governance, so I'm sort of familiar with what corporate governance is. But blockchain is such a different and almost alien concept to the business world. That also means that you have to come up with a different idea, a different philosophy, and a different structure, and a different way of thinking regarding governance. And governance is, in a way, what kind of rules are we establishing to interact? And if you interact, for instance, in blockchain without human interaction, you still need to think about ways to how do we govern, and how do we structure, how do we infrastructure this governance? And that's one of the things I always think about. And the importance of blockchain is that it's decentralized, it's open, it's permissionless, it's immutable, and it's non-discriminatory access. But that also means that you need to structure that in a way that you simply cannot cheat those principles of the blockchain, and that is something I'm focusing on within my governance research, because quite often the English have a very nice expression of, the road to hell is paved with right intentions. And quite often with blockchain or with a new idea, people say, okay, let's do this. And then, we only do it for a short term, or we only do this for that specific reason. And ultimately the whole thing flies off the track. And I always like to make a bit of an analogy, not that I'm bashing towards artificial intelligence, but in artificial intelligence, you sometimes see where governance came in too late almost to be a consideration, and artificial intelligence can have a really nasty side effect, not being transparent or having discriminatory rules in learning. And that is something we need to make sure that we prevent ourselves, stop ourselves, pause ourselves, and think before we actually set up a blockchain. And the DigiByte blockchain has always found that decentralized aspect extremely important. And now that we are growing and have more of 1 million people in our community, and we're having business applications being built on the DigiByte blockchain, it's also important to make sure that we somehow structure that idea of decentralization, and that is governance. So yeah, governance is
so you mentioned that like blockchain governance is a key topic here at DigiByte Foundation.
Correct.
But then you also touched on the point that the importance of decentralization.
Correct.
Why is it so important, and why does DigiByte Foundation stand out?
That's actually quite a difficult question, and I'll try to explain why. And let me start with the idea of the whole blockchain community. The whole blockchain community is spread all over the world. We are in all sorts of countries. We are in all sorts of backgrounds. We have all sorts of different interests. We have different ages. We have different educational backgrounds, and somehow that gels together in what we now know the blockchain ecosystem. But one thing that is actually even more struggling at times is the concept of being decentralized. And decentralization is a very simple concept to explain, but it's a very hard concept to live by and to fully understand what it really is. If you talk about decentralization, it means that you take away a centralized governing authority. But the funny thing is, it's so ingrained in our living, in our thinking, in our being, that we actually also struggle a little with that independence, if you like, and that freedom and being alone. And that makes decentralization such a hard concept. In the core, decentralization gives you the power and the autonomy and the authority to make decisions you need to take, and you feel are important. And in crypto, for instance, that means that it gives you a tool towards financial empowerment, which is extremely important, and which is also something that the DigiByte Foundation and DigiByte blockchain wants to promote. But we also want to see beyond that, and also in this sense, in the longer vision of that. It's not only financial empowerment, it is more or less a psychological and a social frame of mind that decentralization gives you freedom and gives you empowerment, and also gives you control over a lot of issues you feel that are important. And decentralization in that sense is not something that is purely a technological thing. And if you just look at 20, 30 years ago, we had the 1% movement or the 99% movement, and then you had the banking crisis, and we have all this problems with the police in America, for instance, or with politicians being on either side of the spectrum, calling each other really bad names. That is in our society, in our a fundamental lack of trust at the moment, and being decentralized actually mitigates that lack of trust, because it gives you an opportunity to look at your own life and your own choices and own decisions you want to make and you feel are important, and do that with the people or with the tools or with the money you feel is important to do so. So decentralization in that sense is a very important, crucial component, and that would definitely be, it's our constitutional fundamental principle almost within blockchain, I should say. So that's why governance to me is such an important issue.
That's right. So decentralization, governance, but I mean, if you look at decentralization currently happening, there are two types of decentralization which I see. So first of all, it's something which is technology driven. I mean, you are a pioneer in technology also since more than 2 decades. So we've seen cloud computing, which is kind of a first step of decentralization, but still the cloud computing infrastructure was owned by a centralized organization, let's say Amazon Web Services. Now we see decentralized storage, which is blockchain-enabled storage ecosystems, which are completely decentralized, also of the ownership of the content. Yeah. And this technology innovation is something which we see happening. I think that's one side of decentralization and the power. And then the second element is really decentralization of governance, where you see every token holder has voting rights, which we now see at Uniswap tokens, for example. Yes. When they have a governance structure, you can vote. Then you also see it in like casual, like more gaming infrastructure or fan tokens, where you can own a fan token of a soccer club and you can then vote on what the next color jersey will be or whatever. So this is like more entertaining and probably gamification of stuff. But if you bring it back to a very serious topic, we've now seen a start of discussion of a global currency war. And so, it had been raised by a couple of prominent people, from Peter Thiel to Elon Musk recently, that Bitcoin might be like weakening the US dollar as a global reserve currency. China is going deep into the central bank digital currency with the ECNY, kind of the digital RMB currency. And we see that there is this fight of currencies. We see that in the crypto space all the time happening now. But going into this fiat world also, that's massive. And one anecdote on this, probably. So we have an advisor called Professor Zhang from Stanford University, who unfortunately passed away a while ago. And we had a discussion around central bank digital currencies in depth. And he said Bitcoin could actually be the next global reserve currency or something similar to that. So even like as DigiByte Foundation is structured in a similar way, it could play a key part for a global reserve currency, because the goal here is that nobody has full power about the currency like a central bank has, but it would be kind of the future decentralized bank who, like everybody who is engaging, can rule a little bit, but nobody can like have a full saying. So like a United Nations of a currency or something like that.
Correct.
And if you look at this currencies war, like, did you feel that also recently, or had that been a topic at the DigiByte Foundation as well?
It's not necessarily has been a topic we've been broadly discussing or extremely focused on. Obviously, we see the discussion and we see the debate globally around us, and the CBDC discussions, the central bank digital currency discussions, are definitely rife at the moment, and a lot of people are talking about it, and it's being agendized. Which is definitely an interesting phenomenon. But one of the things you just said, Monty, sort of triggered me, and being a new, who's going to be the new main principal digital currency. And I always have a bit of a flashback or a deja vu of Bretton Woods. And Bretton Woods was a conference in the aftermath of the Second World War in America, in a small town called Bretton Woods, hence the name is called the Bretton Woods. And in that Bretton Woods conference, the stability of the financial world after the Second World War was decided and discussed. And one of the outcomes is that the US dollar would be the international staple currency. That was very smart and wise at that point in time, but it also gave America and the American economy, being the international reserve or the fallback currency, a disproportionate advantage for economic growth and development. And that is a lesson we need to make sure that we understand that would also apply to a digital currency. So if you then have a commercialized digital currency, then I dread that the whole thing would actually be repeated, that you favor a certain currency over another and give a disproportionate advantage. If you use a decentralized currency like Bitcoin or like Litecoin or like DigiByte, then it's a completely different scenario. But you need to make sure that that blockchain and that currency stays decentralized. So yeah, in that sense, we're not working on as the foundation on how can we be the next global digital currency, but we're definitely monitoring the discussions with higher than normal interest, I would say. And it's definitely something we also feel is important that we stay abreast with and share outcomes and results and thinking with our community. So yeah, it's a bit of a yes and a no answer, if I may, Monty.
Yes, yeah, and somebody also commented here that the digital dollar stablecoin was an idea. It's not been worked out yet. I mean, there are concepts coming. I think that now, as the Chinese government is pioneering it, there are a lot of other currencies or like central banks who are working on that. I also had been part of a working group in this regard with 45 central banks who are all working on that. I mean, there's the digital krona in Iceland. There's the Central Bank of Thailand is working on it. But I would question, I'm not sure if a central bank as a centralized organization is the right entity to come up with the next digital currency, what everybody of the crypto world is seeing. I would rather
if I may expand on that, Monty, because the two issues more or less I think is very, very important to understand is, first of all, the name CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency. It starts with a C, centralized. So that's already a bit of a red flag in that sense. But secondly, you also need to look at how that central bank digital currency is structured. Will it be a central bank? Will it be the banks, or will it be the consumer? So what tier of responsibility? What tier of asset holding will that structure have? And if we more or less still decide to have our merchant and commercial banks as the holder, then in a way not a lot has changed with fiat currency. It's more or less that we says, okay, all the cash is out, but other than that, it's more or less the same. So that is definitely also something to bear in mind. And a good friend of mine, Bob Lower, he launched a small article today on LinkedIn, and he actually said it's time for a new Magna Carta for digital currencies, and that is definitely a cry I support. I think it's important that we think about the future of how to structure that governance again. And I advocated before to have a blockchain Bretton Woods, but a Magna Carta is how do we actually, what do we find core values we feel we cannot compromise and need to stay intact, come what may, in digital currencies. And I would definitely applaud a step like that, and I would be excited if we as a community could actually participate in that discussion.
Yeah, that's fascinating to hear also, because like with the DigiByte blockchain, it's open, so everybody can participate. So the more you participate, the more impact you have. You can run nodes. You can buy the token itself. Like there are plenty of technology adapters where like you can build on top of the blockchain and so on. So I think there's the technology barriers, and where like if there will be a global reserve currency driven as a centralized currency, so not a central bank digital currency, but a decentralized bank digital currency, where like every central bank has something to say and can bring in some elements. And obviously the bigger banks will have more resources to bring in, so they will have more impact. But it's okay, like it will balance itself. But here, like as the world is complex, it's always hard to agree to anything. So there will be a competition. And talking about that competition, there was a question from Chris coming in. What are the advantages of the DigiByte blockchain over other blockchains? So let's take this question first, and then the second one. How would you say like beyond it's quicker, faster, like settlement is fast as things you already mentioned, what excites you the most?
One of the things that excites me most is obviously that enormous community. And once you're inside that community, you feel that vibe of passion, of drive, and everyone wants to contribute to the DigiByte blockchain, be it on a marketing level, on a sales level, on a developer's level, on an investment level. Everyone wants to participate something and help shape and form that ecosystem. And that, I think, is absolutely amazing. The second thing I find extraordinarily brilliant within the DigiByte blockchain, it's such a versatile blockchain. As said, if you just look at the pillars, proof of authentication, authenticity, authentication, being a coin, DTC assets, and DeFi, it's such a versatile coin, and that makes the blockchain and DigiByte quite extraordinary and quite remarkable, and in my view also unparalleled and unmatched. I think thirdly is that the growing journey, it keeps making it's constantly evolving, improving, and bettering, and not only doing that specifically for the DigiByte blockchain, but for the ecosystem itself. And that sense of altruism and that drive of wanting to bring the whole blockchain ecosystem to a higher level, those three, I would say, are definitely for me the issues and the topics that sets DigiByte apart from being fast, secure, and forward-thinking.
Yeah, so forward-thinking, also the history of DigiByte. There's also a question here from Suroto. DigiByte is already 7 years old, but mass adoption hasn't increased. I would say question mark. How are DigiByte steps in driving mass adoption and making everyone realize that DigiByte is the digital DNA of the Internet 3.0?
Yeah. Well, actually, mass adoption comes in different shapes and comes in different forms. And if you look at how DigiByte has grown over the past 7 years, it's not easy come, easy go. We always work on sustainable, long-lasting relationships between exchanges, between other projects, and that also fuels and drives our success, but also our sustainability. We're not a one day wonder, if you like, and I think it's very important to realize that success it comes in different ways and different forms. And for me, it's very important that we have a sustainable and a long-lasting success. And secondly, you also need to realize that DigiByte is a non-funded blockchain. If we as the foundation had 10 million, we could get listed at every and all exchange, wherever we wanted, whenever we wanted, however we wanted. We can't afford it. We simply don't have money. So therefore, we simply cannot pay listings fees. If you still look at the fact that we got listed over 120 exchanges globally, that says something, that actually projects or exchanges are willing to waive that fee and make sure that they actually incorporate the DigiByte blockchain. So, and that is also something that takes a while, because we need to build and work on relationships. But all our relationships are lasting, and we're looking at the longer term, and we're looking further afield than just a quick success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. So the sustainability there on like building constantly, not thinking about every hype, but really building something more lasting. I think also that you now have incorporated the foundation is another sign in
Correct.
that direction.
Correct.
And there, like, I would be just very interested to get your point of view on, like, if we look at the chart of DigiByte Token in history. So I just pulled up this one, which is the time frame, like 2016. So it launched 2014, where it had been like very, very, very tiny, and then there was the first big jump here, like 2017 June. What happened there? How would you describe it? June 2017, I think it was, Bitcoin was really hyped then at the end of 2017.
Yeah.
So, but you did like an early start, like in early of the ICO craze. Suddenly DigiByte jumped here like a rocket.
Correct. Well, we're always a bit uneasy and talking about the price point of the DigiByte coin. And we as the foundation always try to refrain from anything price related because we simply like to be the price a reflection of the efforts we collectively make as a blockchain. So if we work as a community, work hard on getting listed, work hard on new products, and work hard on a more sustainable and an improved blockchain, the price of the coin will ultimately increase. So in that sense, we always refrain from making comments on price. Tempting
I
as
totally
it is,
agree. I think what I wanted to point out here with that is really like, if you see that there had been some interest, let's say there had been attention, the question was also around attention. But in 2017 was interesting because for me also it was a turning point when I also made the decision to like go all in crypto and go 150% in. I was traveling around with the family in Silicon Valley all summer, and I talked to friends like who had been in tech since years, and a lot of them have stopped doing everything else and said like we went all in. So I was so fascinated about it that I also made the same decision. But also I had been investing in the field since 2013 already. I did speak about the topic all the time, but the kind of turning point was really the 2017. It was, first of all, the impact was much better and much bigger, and the second thing is that regulation also picked up in that regard. So governments came up with guidelines.
Correct.
That'd been the first like discussion: is it a currency? Is it a security? What's going on? And now the interesting thing about your journey with DigiByte is that Then if you zoom out a little bit, there was another jump here. So this was 2018, January, where like more attention on the token as well. And then it dropped again and again. And then basically there was a crypto winter for a lot of projects happening. And now we're at a kind of high attention cycle again. So it's a kind of a third wave.
Yeah.
But what really is astonishing here about DigiByte Foundation and your project is the consistency and also the level of quality all over the project. And I think that's something where like we don't need to comment on the price, but the attention here on the project is really constantly rising, and that's I think the interesting part.
Yeah.
Here,
that's Monty. That's precisely what we want to do as the foundation: sustainable growth. So we work on relationships, we nurture relationships, and we also make sure that it's important that we have lasting relationships, and that takes time to develop. But once they're there, we maintain our relationships, and that's definitely something that sets us apart. We're not looking for a one-day success. We want to achieve a sustainable and a long-lasting success. So that's why we're also always very pleased with the word partnership, because partnerships, what we have at LCX, is not something with a flavor of the week. No, we actually want to be connected with each other for the longer period of time, not just being the flavor of the week or today's special.
Yes. And now I'm just looking at other questions coming in, and there's one question in regards to LCX and the regulatory setup. So the question here coming in from Chris, is it the regulatory side of the company LCX is trying to develop that guided DigiByte's choice to link with LCX? I would rephrase it and say, like, is the regulatory setup at LCX a key reason for the partnership for DigiByte, and what's the importance of regulation in crypto in your point of view?
I think regulations. I'm pretty sure that crypto is here to stay. I'm confident, 100% convinced, crypto is here to stay. Blockchain is here to stay. It cannot and it will not be forbidden in no single country in the world, well, apart from North Korea, I guess. But other than that, it will not be forbidden. What they can do is put regulatory measures in place. And a regulatory measure is not necessarily something that is negative, or that it's seen as a burden or a hassle, or that I need to pay tax over my cryptos. It is also a regulatory framework, is also a protection for me as a consumer, that my assets are safe, that I can rely on my crypto exchange to do exactly what they're supposed to do. So a regulatory environment and a regulatory framework is not something that is negative, but it's actually a sign of appreciation that we, as the blockchain and crypto ecosystem, grow up. We become mature, and the real world governments are actually catching up with us in the sense that we can't ban it, we won't ban it, but we will help to grow it in a sustainable way.
Yeah, the challenge is really for all policymakers and regulators to get the balance right between not blocking any of the innovation. They want innovation to be happening, but at the same time, they're worried about things happening. Like just last week, there was this Turkish exchange where the founder now gone missing, and he just left the country with, like they say, 2 billion worth of crypto, and he's gone. The website is offline. And that's exactly the case where like regulation should step in, even like before that. Like, how could that happen? That there's a single founder who has access to all the funds, that the customer funds are not segregated. So that's something which like we had to make sure from the beginning that at LCX all customer funds are segregated. We can't touch them, we can't use them to buy Lamborghinis. And that's very common in any financial infrastructure. So that's where investor protection is something good. Then on the other hand, there's this innovation happening like DigiByte as a decentralized platform where we do see growth happening because of the growth of the community. And if regulation would step in to block any of this technology innovation, it would hurt the
and hamper
ecosystem.
innovation. Absolutely.
And it also goes beyond their role. Like, it's like they want to protect investors, and they don't want to protect block technology innovation. And I think that's where a balanced view is needed. And of course, I think as this is all new and developing so fast, there are a lot of unknown questions, and not everything regulators do is the smartest decision they do. But that's why I think that the discussions having with them and being open with that is important. And that's why I also think it's time for next generation exchange like LCX. I'm also impressed about what Coinbase has built up in terms of getting this right. And I do see that there's the bridge will also be happening in the DeFi space. It's not only with centralized exchanges, but also how can DeFi thrive as an ecosystem while we make sure that there's no fake decentralization. At the end, there's one founder who take the keys and goes missing with $2 billion.
Correct. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And regulatory is not something negative per se. It definitely can give protections, and consumer protections and safeguards are extremely important, because it all relies on trust. And you should never have a single point of failure that the founder of an exchange can just do a runner and take all the funds and leave. That's bizarre that it can still happen in this time and age. And on the other hand, you were absolutely completely correct. A regulatory framework should never hamper innovation. That's the balance between safety and hampering advantage. That's where you need to find the sweet spot.
Yeah, but obviously the risk in the market is also that there had been a lot of fraudulent activities on a lot of cryptocurrency exchanges, and now for them, kind of the old pioneers in the market, it's now hard to turn around because it all happened in the database. It's there.
Correct.
They can't just delete it and say we starting from fresh. So that's where a lot of these exchanges are now pushed into kind of a gray zone or area.
Correct.
It will be interesting to see how this will be developing. So let's take one comment. I think it's more comment than a question from Golden, who says, once you build the best highway, ultimately people going to use it. Hence the constant innovation development and the interest in DigiByte, because it's smart decentralization compared to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Would you agree to that?
Absolutely, 100%. And I also feel it's important at the moment we're at a juncture in blockchain ecosystem history that we still need to have a we focus rather than a me focus. And I think it's important that we as a blockchain community work together on getting the standards right. What is governance? What is the best protocol? What is the best technology? What is the best support? What works best and what does not work? So it's very important to build that big highway. And I do see DigiByte as one of that's at least one of the lanes in that highway already. And ultimately perhaps more than that. But it's important to realize that we need to think in a we structure rather than in a just me structure. And DigiByte is definitely doing that.
Okay. I agree with that. So you are at the forefront of innovation, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think now looking at the time, it's time to wrap this up. And
you can see that the sun is setting in Amsterdam. I have paid the electricity bills, but I need to flick the lights on. Sorry for that.
So before you disappear completely in darkness, short, 3 points from your side. Try to keep it short. What are the key trends in blockchain and crypto as you see now? Name 3 key topics.
Tokenization, professionalization, and bridging to the business community.
Perfect. Nothing to add. I think with these smart 3 points, we are closing the session today. If you are interested to learn more, you can go to lcx.com/insights, join our Telegram community, or follow us at lcx.com, at LCX on Twitter. And then, of course, I have to mention again, we are doing the LCX trading competition, your chance to win a Rolex Milgaux, the watch for every scientist and crypto trader. And yeah, with that, thank you so much, Hans. It was a pleasure to have you on our LCX Insights Live.
It was absolutely my pleasure. I thoroughly enjoyed being your guest and answering questions of your community. I was absolutely honored and privileged. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks. Let's close it. Bye-bye.
This is LCX Insights Live. For more insights, please visit lcx.com/insights and follow us on Twitter at LCX. Onwards and upwards.